Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from, well, from all of my channels, but that's another story. So I'm here from Psych Club, the Tom Numbers Show, and News with Tom Numbers. People that watch my show will know we had a bit of a tricky issue with one of the channels in the week, but we're still alive. So I've got a magnificent guest with me today, LEILANI DOWDING. How are you, LEILANI?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
It's great to have you on the show. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing your stuff from afar on Twitter, and when I tune into GB News, and I see that you're similar in terms of a lot of your outlook on stuff, and you're standing up for truth. I mean, your background, model on the Stein Report and on GB News, and basically it says on your Twitter, it's like you're letting out what you feel about what's going on, about the shenanigans of the times we're in. And I think it's interesting that there's a lot of people in the UK, similar to yourself, that were known in the public prior to all the nonsense. And now you guys and girls are standing up and, speaking your truth, which I think is commendable and it's needed. And then there's people like me that weren't really known before, but when the big stuff hit in 2020, we had to start saying stuff as well, and then it's grown from there. So it's interesting, it's fun that we're able to collaborate together at this point in time. So yeah, thanks for all you're doing.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me on. And no, it's interesting you say that, because I think that's really important. I think, I've lost a lot of friends the last few years, as have many people. And I think but it's been a great opportunity to possibly meet people from other walks of life we never have met, cross paths with and stuff, and, work together on trying to spread some kind of awareness to what's going on.
Yeah. So what do you think about, well, we're going to some numbers. So new people to the show, when they gave me the nickname Tom Numbers, the kind of community did, but when I talk about numbers, it's a hidden language. It's called gematria. It's a form of numerology. And it's simply A is 1 because it's the first letter, B is 2 because it's the second letter, C is 3 because it's the third letter, all the way through to the 26th letter, Z or Z, 26. And I've done your numbers for you, so I thought you might like this. So I'm full disclosure, everybody that watches my show knows this. So I'm a big Trump supporter. I'm a big fan of President Trump and the things he's doing in front of people, but also I believe he's doing some things in the background as well. I've met his daughter Ivanka, I've met his son Eric. So I was going to ask you, where do you stand with Trump? Are you a supporter? Are you just kind of tolerant of it? How do you feel about him?
You know what? There was a time when I really did support Trump. When was it? I got a bit upset that he kind of sticks by the. That's kind of upset me about a little bit. That's kind of upset me about a little bit. And then also a slight bit of division with DeSantis. But again, with DeSantis, it's like, you look at his backers. Are they the big neocons? He went to Yale and Harvard. He's taking money from some questionable people. There's a lot about Trump that I like, and America was doing really, really well when he was in charge. I mean, like everywhere else, it's just gone to absolute shit, hasn't it, the last few years? But the American economy was booming while he was a leader. We didn't have war, and that's a huge thing for me as well. The fact that we didn't go into and just like we all said, like if Hillary had got in, the war with Russia would have started sooner. Now Biden's in, he pulled the troops out of Afghanistan, boom, straight into Ukraine. So to me, it's huge that there was no huge big wars with when Trump was leader, and it would be great actually if he got in again and could sort out the economy. He needs to actually drain the swamp this time round if he does get in. But equally, if DeSantis got in, I've liked what he's done the last 3 years as well. He's really kept Florida open, and he was very vocal of that. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely not anyone that dislikes Trump. And actually, funny little story, when I won Miss Great Britain in '98, I went to Miss Universe. I think it was
in '98 when you won it?
Yeah, and I think it was a long time ago. The more years have passed now than I was alive when I won it, and that's kind of scary. But it was actually his franchise.
What year were you born? What year are you born?
80.
Okay, I'm 75. Yeah, so yeah, same thing. So 98. I've been alive longer since 98 than I was prior. Yeah.
I know, and it's really scary to kind of think that, but yeah, it was his franchise at the time, so I owe him really for having my green card and my citizenship.
Ah, okay. So you're a US citizen as well?
Yeah, as well. Yeah, that's how I've been able to get in and out of America the last 3 years. People are like, how have you got into America? And I'm like, sorry guys, I have a passport. There's no no magic here.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the reason I asked you about Trump is in terms of the numbers, and also it's really interesting you brought up DeSantis. So because I look at stuff through the lens of, I hear what's going on, and then I kind of see in my own reality with synchronicities and numbers, and kind of download things that just kind of pop in, and I'll examine it and I'll try and see around the corner of stuff, and I have the skill with the numbers, and anyone can learn it. It's just a little bit of practice, and I'll look at stuff. And I remember when DeSantis kind of popped up from my perspective early in the corona thing, and I looked at his numbers. He sounds like Trump, and he seems similar to Trump, and maybe kind of a younger Trump or a baby Trump. And I'm like, okay. And then I did his numbers, and it came to 138, which comes to Donald Trump, which actually comes to your full name. So LEILANI Dowding. I was like, okay, so that's why I bring it up. And I was like, but it's so interesting you said about Trump, and then with DeSantis. And it's been interesting how it plays out with the two of them. I think I know where it will go.
So wait, did you say they both have the same numbers?
They both have the same numbers. So, and
wow,
you do as well. So yeah, so yours, so I'll pull yours up. So yours is here we go. So LEILANI,
Yeah, that's it now.
Say your name to me, then I'll get it.
LEILANI.
I might have been adding an extra I in it. So LEILANI. So LEILANI is 62, which is Queen, which is you won
like
this.
I'm into you. I'm into this now.
Good. So and that's the thing, when you get it personalized, it becomes meaningful. So 62. And I don't know if you're into Nikola Tesla, the inventor.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, Nikola is 62 as well. Yeah. And Dowding, there's a bit of a connection with you and me on this. So Dowding is 76. Trump said, I guess we have a magic wand. He said that on some of his speeches. And a magic wand is 76. And my first name, Thomas, is also 76. Yeah. And if you add them together, so LEILANI Dowding is 138, which is Donald Trump 138, Ron DeSantis 138, revaluation 138, the gold reset 138. So people in the communities and kind of they think about, maybe there'll be a currency reset or we'll go back to a gold standard. But 138 is the gold reset as well, or revaluation. Yeah. So
that's really interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So there's some some parallels, and it's fun because you start to see kind of round corners. I like it. Yeah. And then you'll get things in the papers, newspapers. So I quite often, I know this sounds kind of a stretch, but you're here, you're speaking up, so you have a certain level of consciousness and understanding and openness about you. And things like the Daily Star, the Sun, the Mirror, even the Express and the Mail, the kind of tabloids, even the broadsheets sometimes, but the tabloids with the kind of strange headlines each day, I'm noticing that they're coding stuff in plain sight. And if you know how to work out the code, then you can kind of figure out a few things. But sometimes they put my name in there, like on Sunday, on the back of the Mirror, they said, this is for you, Tom. No, for you, Tom. And then I opened the inner page and it said, this is for you, Tom. And it said fairy tale ending. And I'm all about the big picture of humanity. Let's get to a glorious ending. And I just had my channel taken down 2 days before. So I was like, all right, okay, boys, thanks for that. But it's like, why are they putting the name Tom in again? And I had that about a month ago as well. Because usually I'm positive, but we're all human and we have a little,
and it does go up and down.
Yeah. And about a month ago, I was probably like, I don't know, it's quite cloudy, it's sunny right now, but maybe a month ago in England, there was a period where it was kind of raining, a bit cloudy. and people kind of felt energetically maybe just a bit kind of wonky. And anyway, on the front of the paper it said, "Cheer up, Tom." I was like, okay. All right. And then, you know, it started being sunny again. But it also correlates with certain people I do shows with. So I won't be surprised if you and me get a code in the papers in the next day or two. And I'll find it and I'll share
and send it to me. And send it to me.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will. Because that's the sort of thing that goes on. So this is a funny one. So I had a friend that came over at the weekend to help with my event. And we went down to Durdle Door on the coast. And anyway, we were just joking around and a bit of banter. And she just points to this hill. It's like a big green hill near Durdle Door, but there's like a kind of tip on the top. And she said, "Oh, look, there's a nipple." I was like, "Where?" The big green hill, and there's a nipple. And anyway, so we started laughing about it. And then I know Alex Reid, and I was like, "Oh, well," it made me think of Katie Price on Bo Selector with the talking nipple. Anyway, so I joked with my friend about that because she's from Holland, so she didn't know who Katie was. Anyway, the next day with this newspaper, and it said about the fairy tale ending. And Tom, on the front of another paper, there's a picture of Katie Price at the top, and I was like, Katie's well known, but she's not always in the papers. I might bring her out every 2 or 3 months. And I said, "Look, there's Katie Price," and she started laughing. She's like, "No way, we were talking about it yesterday." So it's these sorts of things, the synchronicities happen
a lot. Yeah, I've noticed that things that I've always noticed synchronicities that happen with me.
Have you? Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't surprise me. Because of what you're speaking up about. What sort of things do you notice? What sort of things happen with you?
Just the way things fall into place a lot of times as well. Or I'll be talking about something, or I'll be wondering about something. And sometimes I even say, I don't ever have to ask a question, because if I think of the question, I'll literally get the answer within the next couple of days from something. It will be on the radio, it will be on the newspaper, it will be somewhere. And so I can often now, I might want to ask somebody a question, but instead I just think, I'll see if it appears, and the answer usually does. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, you're in tune with it. You're getting it in your own life. That's what it is. Because it's so exciting. It's like you can go to other sources, you can ask, but the universe will tell you the truth if you're open to it.
And I also think a lot of things work-wise, or to do with what I'm doing, or the platforms I've been given, have also come that way. It's nothing I've actually actively tried to pursue. They've kind of fallen into place by maybe something else that previously. So, for example, I did the Housewives of Cheshire. Hated most of filming it. Thought, God, I didn't want it to be in this like materialistic show. That's not why I joined. I wanted to show people the alternative, kind of less materialistic way that a lot of people with maybe a wealthy partner live. And it didn't happen, so I got it frustrated me, and I got annoyed. But then I think if I hadn't done that show, I probably wouldn't have been invited onto like Gareth Ike's show at the time, who then got me to do some stuff for Iconic. And then after doing stuff for Iconic, I got asked to do GB News and the Mark Stein show. So it all kind of happened in synchronicity without me actually actively going out and trying to pursue it.
Amazing. So you were in the flow, you just let it come in naturally, organically. And I Gareth's think great. I did a show with Gareth just about a month ago. He's brilliant. Brilliant.
And it's funny because actually, and the weirdest thing is probably what opened my eyes was reading his dad's book 20 years ago, and the next thing I'm sat on the sofa doing a show with Gareth, and I always think to myself, back in the days when I was modeling and more well known, and I thought, God, if I was ever asked to do like Big Brother or something, who would I really find it fascinating to be in the house with? And I always thought David Icke. And the next thing, I'm there, and I am having conversations with David and his sons and his girlfriend that I would never thought. It was just kind of like, this would be really fascinating to be able to chat to him about this, and then took a time, 20 years or so, but happened.
I know, and it's brilliant. It's like I did a show with David in October. I was in America at the time, and then he was here and we did the show. We'd had it planned for a while. and the main theme of it was consciousness. We were talking about that, consciousness, the synchronicities, and he gave a great discourse, as he always does, on that, those blended topics. It was really, it was amazing, fascinating. And talking of like things kind of happening later, so I knew Matt Letitia a little bit about 10, 12 years ago. I did an interview with him, but I didn't expect 2020, and nor did he. And then it's like, oh, we're on the same page. We better, and then we've been collaborating and doing shows, and it's amazing. It's like someone like Matt. It's like, I knew him a little bit back then, saw him at 1 or 2 dinners since, and then we're in the same war, in the same battle. We're on the same bus. So it's bus and war are the same numbers, actually. 42. I didn't do that intentionally, but they're the same thing. So yeah. What do you think? Where do you think we're going? What's your feelings on things right now in the UK? What do you feel is where we're at, and what do you see coming, and do you see any what solutions do you see to this?
So I see a lot. I see that there's been a huge awakening. People have realized a lot of things that I've been thinking about, talking about to close friends only since since early 2000s. So I was never really vocal about anything, or not just COVID, but synchronicities, 9/11, all of these kinds of things that happen, and loads of false flag events, loads of manufactured events, the shit that they put in our food, in our water that we're breathing, all of these things, big pharma, banking, all of these things I've been thinking about since early 2000s. And now I feel like it's great. I can talk about it more openly because people are getting it. They're starting to see all the links. Unfortunately, it still is very slow, and I see a lot of people that are still going to be stuck in their old mindset, that aren't prepared to, the BBC readers, the ones that love BBC Verify, they're going to be stuck in that old mindset. They're not prepared to open their minds and move forward. Whereas the people I kind of see that have been vocal about things, even if they can't be vocal, say like I was able to be vocal publicly because I didn't care if I didn't have anyone to what do you call it, who rules over me. Like, I don't have a boss. I work for myself. That's it. I don't have anyone to be accountable to. I'm shit. I always forget what I'm saying halfway through. I think I've fallen off my horse too many times and hit my head. But I don't have anyone to be accountable to. So I'll say what I want, and I found that in doing so, I met like-minded people who couldn't necessarily say things publicly, but were talking to their friends, like a lot of them, and trying to open the minds of their family and friends back to position.
Back in the room.
Right. So I'm not. There's no one that I'm accountable to. So I felt like I could speak out, and by doing so, I would then meet and attract like-minded people who were either also speaking out, or maybe they weren't speaking out publicly, but they were still trying to, speak to their family, their friends, anybody they came in contact with, people that were non-compliant, weren't wearing the masks, weren't following lockdown, but weren't necessarily shouting it from the rooftops, So to me, that was really important. I've lost track of where I was going with this. So
you mentioned before that, like 9/11, and since 2020 you've known something is not as it seems. You've been talking to people privately, and now we've got to this point.
So now I think a lot of those people who I'd spoken to, who, like you and I, have now opened, and if they weren't previously open to it, they've opened their minds to it. And I see that there's been a shift, like, they're out trying to plant some seeds, like physical seeds, grow some of their own food. They want to teach their kids more at home. They're more vocal about what schools are trying to induct their children with. So I'm seeing less materialism and more back to nature, more back to basics, and really the important things in life, relationships, not just with other people, but relationships with nature, food, growing their own things, getting away from getting into nature. That's big. I moved down to the coast not long ago,
and it's amazing. I mean, I love London, but I'm over it now. It's like, no, I'm enjoying the coast, and
Which coast?
I go and visit and everything. Down Bournemouth. So
I'm
just
from Bournemouth. You know I'm from Bournemouth, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was born there.
What part of Bournemouth?
Charminster. Well, I was born in Southampton, moved to Charminster, and I actually have a flat on Richmond Hill still that I rent out. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to. I don't know Richmond Hill, but okay, brilliant.
It's that big hill as you come into Bournemouth, so it's just the other side of the big hill. As you come into the town centre, it's the big hill that kind of walk down into the square.
So do you get down here? Like, do you come down here with the family sometimes to still visit and check out the flat?
Do you know what? I haven't for ages because it's a long drive from Staffordshire. But I met my parents come up here.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it's a great. Well, you know how great it is. It's lovely, you know, seeing the sea and Old Harry Rocks or the Isle of Wight, English.
Yeah. So when you said you went to Durdle Door, I've done that walk many times from Corfe Castle and Durdle Door, and then also the New Forest. Got to go to the New Forest. It's amazing and magical.
It is. I need to. The forest. I've been through it a bit, but I know that I need to get in there more. I need to get myself a motor. Because in London, I sold it ages ago. I didn't need one, but I kind of miss one. Now I need to get one. So I'm in the process of getting one, and then I'll be able to go gallivanting. And the buses are quite fun here. They're like little topless buses. And it's great. It's, you know, it's amazing. So, but you were talking about. So you were talking about 9, and I knew back then it was not. You know, it wasn't what they told us. But there's something interesting in the numbers with that. So if you do the numbers on Tower 1. It comes to 115, and if you do Tower 2, it comes to 139. And if you add those two numbers together, so Tower 1 plus Tower 2, so 115 plus 139, it comes to 254. And guess what day of the year is the 254th day of the year? Guess what day it is?
Is it really September 11?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they plan this stuff for a long time. They know. So the bad side have known about the numbers, but intrinsically, I believe all the numbers, you know, they're good. They're numbers, letters, language, they're all good. But then things got infiltrated. Whatever this is here on the earth, where we've come down and incarnated into this matrix, this life that people, you know, they're born, they die. We have joy, we have pain, we have disease, we have happiness. All these contrasts, whatever this is. Somehow, I think intrinsically, at the end of it, it's a positive, good thing. But when you get the dark and the light, you get that 3D split, the matrix. So I think the bad ones have used it. In fact, I know they have. But now, like you talked about the awakening, people are waking up. Now we're taking them back, including things like numbers, synchronicities, symbols, all of those things. And so I guess I feel part of my call, my mission, it's to help point those positive things out and give people hope with it. So
because that's the thing as well, is I think for people that know what's going on, there's always, you can always kind of plan for it, or you can slightly stay ahead of the game. If you know what, you know, if you know what's coming, you can make sure you're ahead of what's happening. But if you're asleep in it, you're never going, that's why I never wanted to work for somebody. I always wanted to work for myself, because I was always scared of being accountable to somebody. You know, when lockdowns happened, I wanted to move to a place where I could keep my horses in case they ever locked down again. And who knows if this WHO treaty goes through, which I hope enough people are going to be, you know, wake enough people up to stop it happening. If this goes through, who knows what could happen again with lockdowns, 15-minute cities, climate change lockdowns, all of this. So if you're aware of it, you can kind of try and make these steps. But I'm feared for the people that aren't, because it's almost like they're on a suicide mission, really. Because I just, you know, if they're, you know, from every single angle, if they're letting their kids mutilate themselves, transitioning or something, then, you know, that's the end of the bloodlines there. If they're going for their 8th jab, 9th jab, 10th jab, what's going to happen? You don't know what's going to happen to the facility. So I think that by being aware and awake of what's going on, you can kind of it can be a positive thing to help you, you know, prepare and help others around you prepare and build that community.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting when you said the game. So game is 26, which is also God, and it's also card. And when I was talking about, you know, whatever this is, a matrix or a simulation, whatever we're in, you like the game, you know, if you know the game, if you know God 26, game 26, even card, you know, then it can help predict or at least help you prepare for possible scenarios, possible outcomes, you know. Yeah. What do you think in terms of, because you've got you can see it, synchronicities, consciousness. What are your thoughts on what the nature of life and reality is? What do you feel it is for you?
It's really hard because I'm one of those people that I'm happy to change my mind at different times based on new information. So sometimes people say, you know, I just like a switch. 1 minute I think this, 1 minute I think that. But I've always thought there is something higher, but I don't know what that is. Is it God? Is it an alien? Is it spirituality? Is it a consciousness? And then the more that I see us humans getting involved with AI, the more I start thinking, well, has there been AI around 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago that created this kind of stuff? And then it becomes very matrixy, like the movie, where it's like, what are we? Are we just, you know, energy producers or something? And then a lot of me thinks, are we even originally from Earth? Because we seem to be the only thing on the earth that can't live in tune with it. Everything we do, whether it's even if it's just picking up a bottle of water, we've managed to destroy the planet in some kind of way by using that plastic or whatever it is, transporting it. We can't live in harmony with the earth like any other creature can.
That's a really good point. That's true. Yeah, we do. We fuck it up, don't we?
Everything we do, like, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those just doilies or anything like that, but I'm just saying that, like, when you look at, you know, anything, I've just been watching the birds in my garden build their nests, and when the nests go, when they go, it will just decompose and it will be nothing. And, you know, not like us and our rubbish dumps and our plastic and filling the oceans and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's it. We're the ones that screw it up. And the thing is, that if we do things well, we can do it really well.
Really well.
But when we let go of the other side of, like, not kind of completing that, like that natural nature cycle, we could have maybe, you know, and then forgetting the rest, sweeping under the carpet. And that's the bit that we lack. That's the bit that we usually fall back on. Yeah. Yeah. And
it's an interesting as well, because, you know, we think to ourselves that we're so advanced versus, like, I don't know, a little tribe in Africa or in the middle of the Amazon, say, but those people in the Amazon who we think are so backwards are just living perfectly and happily off that. I bet they don't have, like, depression and anxiety, you know, they're just going out foraging or hunting for their food, living with their environment, not destroying it. So it's like, who is backwards and who is forward? So it gets really complex, and I just have loads of deep thoughts about it, and then my mind's always constantly changing, like, you know, what is it, what are we doing here, like, what is our purpose, what's you know, should we be trying to integrate with AI and all of that, or if these advances have come, what's already being used that we don't know about, what's been here and been used, like, in the last few thousand years.
What do you think about the thing of, say, so you bring that up, AI and stuff we don't know about? Any thoughts on clones or, you know, doubles of people and masks and all that sort of stuff? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, but sometimes I really think that as well, there's, like, non-player characters in this,
yeah,
like NPCs. Like, it started off as a bit of a joke, and I'm like, no, really, are they, like, just programmed things? But I mean, if they're cloning, the thing is, if they're cloning sheep and they have cloned sheep and they can clone animals, then I totally believe they've cloned humans, 1,000,000%. Why would they not have? There will be some sick, twisted people in a lab, secret lab somewhere, that are doing things that, you know, humanity would be disgusted with, probably interbreeding humans and other species, you know, programming people. I mean, I was watching Joe Rogan, and this lady was saying they put chips into pigeons and flown them around labs, and they put chips into rats' brains and, you know, controlled them through mazes. Who's to say they haven't done that to people? And why? How would we ever know if they really have? They'd never tell us the truth, because people would be so disgusted by it. They would never tell us. So, you know, in these labs deep underground, who knows what's going on?
Yeah, the dumbs. I remember when I first learned about that, within like the first week or two of lockdown, because I was like, right, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened in all our lives. This is too much of an opportunity for a bad side to do something, but it's also too much of an opportunity for, if you believe in a good alternative, for them to do something as well. And I was like, okay, they're keeping us off the streets. What's going on? There's something else going on that we're not known about. And then I remember being told, someone told me, he said, do you know about the kids? I was like, what? And he said there'd been all these thousands and thousands of kids rescued from these tunnels. I was like, and within a nanosecond, I just knew that was correct. And then I was going online and seeing other people talking about it. I think Jenna Jameson was talking about it, some of the rescue stuff over in New York with the Mercy ship. And I was like, oh, what, you know, that's horrendous. But it clicked instantly. And I watched the Fall of the Cabal, and they took you through that whole process of it. And dumbs, I didn't know what they were. We'd just seen them on TV and you know, films and stuff, but it was like, they're actually doing weird shit to people under the ground, you know, in the darkness, where no one would know what was going on. And that's horrific. And it's like, fuck. And I remember when, a little later after that, when he'd already been doing it, but when Trump and Ivanka were talking about ending was like prostitution and sweatshop workers. I thought that was the level. I didn't realize the depravity of what was actually going on, you know.
And this is what, it's shocking to me that
I had no idea, you know.
And it's surprising to me that people think it's such a conspiracy theory that they do, but I think it comes down to cognitive dissonance, where they don't want to believe the depravity of what is actually going on this planet. And we know, like, children are being sold into all kinds of sorts of slavery, and then it's almost like it's kind of accepted that it's happening in Asia and Africa, but of course if it's happening there, it's happening here. And you know, we're hearing little snippets of things, like, you know, like the rape gangs happening in like Rotherham and all of that, but it's just such a minor piece of detail about like the bigger picture of what's actually happening with there's so much, and there's so much more, and the level of,
you know, executive orders, and he's like, it's the scourge of the earth. It's been going on for thousands of years. I'm like, shit, man. I thought human.
And then, you know, you see these startups in San Francisco wanting to try and experiment with using young face masks and facials and stuff, and that's been on mainstream. And then you'll see newspaper articles of startups in Silicon Valley testing out, you know, young blood to see what that does to people. So it's all there when you look for it, but then that's, like as you said, the tip of the iceberg of what's, you know, really going on, because they're just letting out those snippets of information.
They are. It's like, and well, you said as well about there's two parts. The first, when you're talking about the clones, just a couple of things came to mind. So when early lockdown, Boris and Matt Hancock and others were all like tested positive. Then it went from coronavirus to...
And then, you know, it's not like a huge jump when you start reading about...
Anyway, Boris, I've got a theory. I think Boris was swapped out early on, and people that actually were his ex-lovers. So there's people that talk behind the scenes about that as well, saying he's not, you know, not the real Boris and not the real man. So if we go down the clone theory, the papers were telling us, if you take that perspective, they were always putting out Bojo and Bozo the clown, Hancock and Boris. And if you spell the word clown in English, C-L-O-W-N, phonetically, you could say it as clone, because own, O-W-N, put C-L in front, C-L-O-W-N is clone, clown. And it's like, okay, is that what they've been doing? Perhaps, you know. And then when you talk about, they have to tell you, they do it. And people, and then the cognitive dissonance gets in there, like, you see it, they scare people, and then they're like, no, it can't be that, and they just switch off. And it's worse than not knowing it in the first place, because they've insulated it, you know. They don't want to go there. But then the ones that do it get away with it. They're like, well, it's not on us, we've told you, we did it as a joke, but we told you, you know. So it's the level of depravity that's been going on. It's horrific. I have one that believes that it's getting cleaned up, and now it's coming to the surface, and we're getting told what sort of stuff's been going on, because it's just diabolical, you know.
And I do think we are going to go in a circle. Well, it will, because I think there's always been cycles within humans on this planet, and I think that it does get bad, and then it does get cleaned up, and it might take something catastrophic to make it get cleaned up, but it will get cleaned up. I truly do believe that. So
do I. Yeah, I do as well. I wanted to talk as well about the elephant in the room in terms of the UK right now. So people that you can't get away from it now, and I'm not one. I use the newspapers for coach, but I don't watch, you know, I don't tune into the TV all the time, the BBC, or, you know, ITV. So you've got the whole thing with Philip Schofield going on right now.
Yeah.
And I've done some interesting numbers on this. I wanted to see what your thoughts were about it. But here it is, just on this one. So if you spell the two words Philip Schofield, it comes to 163. 163, if you spell out the word 23, comes to the same value. So Philip Schofield equals 163. 23 also comes to 163. Now 23 is an important number on both sides of the equation. A lot of the bad dark cats have used it, a lot of good ones with I am, with God, etc. But a lot of sports stars would wear 23. But the interesting thing is we're in the year of 2023 right now. Now there's a few guys that I do shows with. One is a guy called 107. He's like a cowboy character. I've met him a few times in person, but he's quite often known for sitting at the camera but not showing his face. He's got this bloody voice, and he'll have the cowboy boots, and everyone knows it's one. He did a broadcast on my live event, the Tom Numbers show, yesterday in Bournemouth. Anyway, so he's always talked about world events things that change the world are always done on a 23. And we're in the year of 2023. I've got another friend called Derek Johnson, who's an ex-military guy, military vet, and he's going through all these executive orders that Trump put in place, but also ones prior to that. So other administrations, even the ones that Biden's extended, and he dissects all the military orders. He's brought up this thing about there's going to be military tribunals in 2023. And he said that the New York Post actually did an article about this about a couple of years ago. So we're in the 2023. So it was interesting to see that Philip Schofield was 2023. Then I had to kind of search a bit and find out who this young lover of Philip Schofield is or was. And his name, hang on, let me pull it up. His name is Matthew, interesting, that comes to 188, which actually comes to Close Encounters. You mentioned about aliens. Probably down here in Bournemouth, you've probably seen, I don't know if you've seen ships and stuff, but it looked like there was a couple out last night. Matthew 188. It also comes to Close Encounters, I mentioned that, comes to Jesus of Nazareth in a kind of biblical sense. You know, we might need something, whether people are Christian, Muslim, no faith at all, something probably needs to happen to change the earth. Also comes to Show Me the Money and President Kennedy. But 188, I was like, so what is the virus? What is the true virus that's been on the earth? What is that scourge that's been on the earth? And it's probably, I think it's human. That's the real virus. Mm-hmm. That's the real virus. So when the coronavirus descended upon the earth, I felt there was a lot of digital codes with it that they were telling us it's a number of things. It's biblical, it's life-changing, it's a big scare event, but it's something massive, like you've alluded to, that to go through these cycles, to stop what's been going on, we're going to need something really huge and amazing that will just change it and revert things back to goodness, which I believe will happen as well. But I was curious that the two characters, 23 with Philip Schofield and Matthew 188, comes to the coronavirus. But then you add them together, and this is where it kind of goes even more. If you were to add up all the numbers in the alphabet, so A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, all the way through to Z, 26, God, card, game, they come to a figure of 300. 188 comes to the coronavirus. But then you add them together, and this is where it kind of goes even more. If you were to add up all the numbers in the alphabet, so A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, all the way through to Z, 26, God, card, game, they come to a figure of 351. And 351 comes to a number of things, but it comes to God communicates through numbers. You could even say God communicates through synchronicities, happenstance, all those things. But 351, God communicates through numbers. Jesus Christ is the English alphabet. There's about 20 phrases, I have to pull them up and show you, but there's about 20 similar phrases that point to the fact that there seems to be a correlation that the consciousness of whatever this is, in one way, communicates to us, the observers, through numbers. And when I saw that with Philip Schofield plus Matthew McGreevy, have I said it right? It comes to 351. I was like, okay, so what's the bigger message? What is this? Because I think there's going to be a narrative that's going to get let out, and the people, the big masses of the people, the public, they're going to be woken up bit by bit by bit about this. They're laying the trap for a big reveal. And then I think there's going to, I think a storm's going to, I think this is not going to go away. I think this is going to be a trigger point where there's going to be a lot of heartache about it, but I also think there will be a remedy where people will really awake. Because, bless her, my sister, she was here at the beach with me at the weekend, Friday, and I'll talk to her about numbers, and she kind of, oh, yeah, not really a thing, But then I said, well, what about Philip? She's like, yeah, what is this? What is it? And I told her, it's like, what is it? She was like horrified. And now she's seeing bits in the paper, they're dropping it every day. There's a bit more, and it's just going to get worse. That's what I feel about it anyway.
Well, it's weird because I think when he first came out, I was like, well, he's come out for a reason, and it's not because he's just decided to. So everybody kind of behind the scenes was saying, oh no, it's because he's being forced to, because they've got some information on him and he doesn't want it coming out. So he's saying this because he's been cheating with this young guy. So I thought it was already old information. I thought people already knew. But I guess that's because I don't get my news from, if I'm only reading, what's on ITV or BBC, then I suppose you think he's just coming out. And I'm like, brave? How is he? How's anyone so brave? He's been caught cheating on his wife. How is that brave? The guy, that's not brave. But then I think I wasn't meant, or general public were not meant to know that he'd come out because he was cheating.
You picked on it at least 2 years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew at the time. I was like, he's not just coming out just to come out. And that's why I couldn't understand, why is everyone saying how brave he is? He's just cheated on his poor wife. But I think we weren't even meant to know that we cheated. I think we were meant to all be stupid and think he's just leaving his wife or something, because he's just suddenly decided to come out with this, and he's not done anything bad, and he's not pursued any of his thoughts or whatever. So now that it's actually come out the last few days that he did have the affair with the young kid, who apparently wasn't young at the time, but he'd met as a 10-year-old and started speaking to as a 15-year-old when he, the kid joined the theatre company at the age of 10, I think. When this came out, I'm like, this is just so weird that, how was anyone trusting the media if the media have managed to do such a good job keeping this silent from the majority of people? Because all my friends and I were like, huh? I had friends texting me like, oh, you called this a couple of years ago, and I'm like, but didn't you figure that out in the last 2 years, and you're only just realizing now because it's the newspapers telling you? And if that's the case, how could you possibly trust the mainstream media anymore as your primary news source when you're getting the information that I got, 2 years late?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if that's going to help wake people up to say, look, you cannot trust them.
Yeah, you hope so. I think it will wake up another percentage But I think the big book, I think the stuff that you and me understand, I think it has to be plastered all over the mainstream, everywhere consistently. Because they did it with COVID. They gave us what? They gave us a 10-week warning, didn't they? You heard the rumbles of, oh, there's this Wuhan, like, and then it was like, you get to the beginning of March, you're like, fuck, they're going to do this. And I knew it was bullshit. I spoke to a friend of mine that is an ambassador, and he was like, well, and he always pulls this one. He always says, well, there's no one that's, I always say, look, there is a nefarious force. And he always just says, well, maybe no one's in control. Maybe they're all just, and he kind of, you know, I was like, no, and he did that to me a few years prior anyway. So it's me and him and another friend that we grew up with, and we're in Regent's Park and we're talking about it. I was like, they're going to fucking do this. I know it's bullshit, but I've got to physically get my house in order, and so I have to go to the shops, get all the cans and all, you know, all that stuff, because we just didn't know what was going to happen. So they were able to put the world into lockdown simultaneously all around us like that. They can do the same thing, I believe, in terms of a reveal on what has been going on for hundreds and thousands of years throughout history, the bad stuff. And I think that's what will reunite them. I don't know if you have come across Q or the Q post. Are you familiar with Q?
Yeah. The only problem with, go on, you say first.
No, go on. I was just going to say Q is the 17th letter, so you get a lot of codes with 17 and Q, but yeah, please, yeah. So
I followed Q a bit, and then they always said, trust the plan. But the problem with me is that by trusting the plan, I think what it did is it stopped a lot of people, but it like deactivated a lot of people from stopped them taking any action, because they were like, it's okay, something else is going to save us, instead of saying, well, we've got to get together and we've got to push and we've got to make sure this doesn't happen. So the whole, I think, you know, maybe people trusted the plan so much, maybe they didn't go out and vote because they were like, oh, it's okay, it's going to be fine, Trump's going to get in, because we've got to just trust the plan, it's going to happen, or we don't need to kick up a fuss about the voting and how shady it was, because you know, there's a plan in place. But it like stopped a lot of people from taking the action. That's the only thing I'd say about that. But you know, if people were into it, I'm like, okay,
I think that's a fair point. I think there's a fair point with that it did.
But I think I saw somebody wearing a Q t-shirt one day in like the most random place I'd never expected, and I actually got talking to the guy because I thought, okay, if he's wearing that, then he must be aware of some of the darker side of what's going on, and you know, then you can bring some light into it, you know, and that's the thing. I do think a lot of these things can be exposed, but there will be people that do not want to believe it, and I think that will be their own detriment if they don't see what's happening. And you know, when people say, oh, there's no nefarious force, like you said, for the whole world to go into lockdown, or at least the Western world to go into lockdown, and China at the same time, and the same kind of rules and regulations be pushed on a global scale, that says to me that these our governments are not acting independently. And you know, there's been a lot of talk obviously about the WHO pandemic treaty, but I feel like that's kind of already in place. So whether we sign up for it or not, they've managed to kind of do what they wanted anyway the last 3 years. We've had the CDC, the FDA, all the whole acronym club of people, I call them, because they're all like, you know, they're all the acronym club. They've been the one that have been like the main influence on what's going on around the world. It hasn't been our bloody, you know, elected governments, even though Richie Sunak was never even elected by us. So, you know, that's another thing as well. So how are these people are being put in, and they're being positioned into these positions of power, really. They're being placed into the positions of power.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're pieces, aren't they? I love that. The acronym club. I'll do the numbers on that. I'm like, that's brilliant. They are the acronym club. That's
what I call them now, because there's like, what is there? WEF, WHO, the 3-letter acronym club, and they seem to be.
You know, to be WTF. What the fuck? Yeah, the WTF.
Yeah,
the World Economic, the WEF, yeah, the acronym club. That's brilliant. That's good. That's gold. That's comedy gold. Yeah. So I was talking to Ricky Lambert. I did a show, Ricky, ex-Liverpool and Southampton and England player, and so he's aware of all this stuff, like you said, all the acronym stuff. He knows all that stuff, and he's like, Tom, if it goes through, we're fucked, you know. But he's also got this, and he's a beautiful soul, Ricky. He's brave, he's correct, but he also gets a lot of this stuff. He's the one that I knew this already, but he kind of came out with the thing I would say on my shows. He's like, Tom, I've known for ages that frequency is the key to everything. I was like, bloody hell, that's like profound, you know. And he knew it, and we'll talk about all kinds of stuff, and then he'll be like, oh, I feel good, you know, I'm raring to go, because he knows the orders that they put, the things that they put in place. And we were saying, well, if we all it would take is all of us, everyone, to say no. Just say no, like Zamo, you know, Grainshield, just say no, and then it would end. It would stop. But the problem is people still, too much of a large percentage of people don't want to know, as long as they're not personally affected, even though their lives were affected through COVID and the inconvenience of that for so long. If it didn't hit them right on their doorstep, they just kind of meandered and got through it and just carried on, you know. But if everybody got to the point and just said no, then it would be over yesterday. And that's what we need. You know?
And that is what we need. And that's what's going to happen. It's those people that sit in the middle that know it's not right, but kind of go along with it and acquiesce just to make things easy. They know that the government are full of shit. They know that these things are lies, but they'll just go, oh, you know what, I want my life to be easy, so I'll just go along with it. When you got to really, like, you know, stand up and say, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. And like you said, it's frequency. The government want us confused, want us depressed, want us anxious. It's a low frequency to be on, and it serves big, because they can just shove, you know, some more pills up, you know, into people. It's beneficial. It's beneficial when people are confused, and, you know, so they even overwhelm us with all this, you know, terrible stuff. They want us kept down in a really low vibration, and they don't want us to be positive and see, like, the positive things that can happen. And I think that's like a lot of difference that I see in a lot of my close friends now who are trying to take positive action. And know about frequencies and things, because you can get sucked into it and just keep yourself on a low level, saying, oh my God, like, you know, the whole world's gone crazy, everything's mental, like, how are we going to get out, what are we going to do? And then there's people that are like, you know what, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to confuse us, they're trying to get us depressed, they're trying to get us anxious, they're trying to fill us with pills. And I say, if you haven't felt anxiety or sadness or some kind of depression over what they have tried to do to us, then you're probably psychopathic. Because if you haven't felt any of that, then you're probably as crazy as them that are doing this to us, because it's a natural reaction to what they've done. But the way to get yourself out of it is not then go to the doctors and say, fill me up with pills, because, you know, the government is to say, right, this is what they've done, this is why I'm feeling this way. Of course I'm going to be anxious with all these possible rules, but what can I do to find a solution? What can I do so my kids don't get indoctrinated by all these, like, radical ideologies, all this filth that they want to teach in school? Like, what can I do? And that's the way you have to, you know, get out of that trap. And you know, it will make you happier, it will make everyone around you happier, and that you get a more positive vibration. And, you know, if everyone felt like, you know what, we can fight this, then more people would fight it, and more people would attempt to fight it. But they rely on us saying, oh no, we're never going to be able to beat them. But there's just such a few of them. We just got to say, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
We're not playing your games.
Yeah, that's it. We're just, and the frequency getting together. So that's actually, well, we could talk off camera, but I'll ask you. So I'm thinking of I did my first event yesterday, but I feel we need to go bigger and better and get real powerhouses together, which gives the public the permission to feel that, actually, you know, we're in part of a real strong movement, and then to stand up. So I'm working on something, but I'd love to have you on board if you're up for it. Have you done public gigs and speeches, and, well, not speeches, but like kind of appearances, interviews,
Yeah, I mean, I used to go down to all the lockdown protests again, and whether or not, whether or not people said they made a difference or not, I don't know. But I know that when I left that, I was absolutely buzzing, because I knew that what I was thinking, there were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who felt the same way and were prepared to march, and it just gave me hope that, you know, things that if there's enough of us, that things can be better. And yeah, but as far as, I'm really bad public speaker, I forget. Like I said, I really think I've fallen off my horse too many times, and I hit my head, because sometimes I'm like, I stand there and I freeze and I forget what I'm saying or what have you.
I use the wrong phraseology. It'd be more like, so what we did yesterday was like guests I've had from the show. Yeah. And we just sit down and have the kind of live show in front of people. So it's just conversation, you know. But it's so yeah, I won't put you on a podium where you've got to forget words. But I think it is vital that people like you, people like David Icke, people like Matt Letitia, Ricky Lambert, a whole host of them that people know and recognise. It's really just a measure. You can't really measure how powerful that is, because it's giving people permission, and people like familiarity. Yeah, I think we have to go through quantum leaps and quantum jumps to get out of this, but people like comfort, and so if they're familiar with a name, familiar with a face, they can latch onto that, and then it gives them permission to tell, you know, or share it with others. And the thing is, the frequency, even if they're not aware of it, if their frequency is raising, which it will be by being associated with the good stuff, that's just going to ripple, and it's going to ripple into other people's lives. It's the ripple effect, you know. The frequency is the ripple effect.
Definitely. I think Dominic, I don't know if you know Dominique Samuels, she's a political commentator. She's taken a little break, I think. She's really, and she's really into that, and she's just trying to say to people, look, got to try and focus on the positive things you want instead of all the things you hate. You've got to start talking about what you want and how to bring that about. Because if we can all sit and keep talking about what we hate, about what's now, but if we can't say this is what we want, then we can't bring any of that into fruition.
Yeah, it's manifestation.
Huge believer in manifestation. Huge.
Yeah, same here. That's interesting that Dominique's into that. Yeah, but we should, love to
massively
do a shot, talk with her, because that's it. We have to, focus on what you want. I've got a friend I used to do like self-belief, mental confidence stuff with at a golf in Wentworth, and he always remembers the phrase when he's like, I wasn't even my phrase, it's someone else's, but it was simply where attention goes, energy flows. And this world is a world of energy, and if you put positive energy out, then it magnifies and comes back, you know.
And it's really, really true as well. Like a lot of things I could only ever dreamed of have happened to me, and then another thing that people get as well is like I've had like it's almost like almost guilt that I've been, been so lucky, because then people are like, God, you're so lucky, and I'm like, I really am so lucky. Like, how did this happen? And it's like, it's kind of lucky, everything I've dreamed about, I've tried to like follow it through, and then there's almost like a guilt involved with it, and then you can see there's certain things where people are being programmed not to be able to like elevate anything. So I remember I was doing a reality show in Florida with a girl, and I was like, look, wear my watch. It's something so stupid. She goes, no, I can't put that on. Like, what if I break it? I said, if you break it, you won't. First of all, you're not going to break it. Sorry, out of time. Have I got to shut up?
No, sorry. It's when you said wear my watch. I was wearing this cold laser wristwatch. And you said watch, so I just put it out. It just cleans your blood. No, please continue.
Amazing.
You made me think,
Yeah, no, I said to this girl, wear my, she goes, no, I might break it. I said, you're not going to break it. How can you break it? I said, I want it forever. I go horse riding it. I do everything. You're not going to break it. No, because I'd never be able to afford something like that. And then I'm like, no, you can't say that. when you say that, that will become, you know, your reality. You must never say, I'll never be able to afford this, or I'll never, and it's not as a materialistic thing, you know. I'm not there buying like, you know, designer shoes and handbags and throwing money away being stupid, but I think, you know, if I want something, like I dreamed of a horse that I always wanted, I was able, you know, to have her, and I'd have to save, and I drive a shit car half the time, but you know, it's having the mindset to be able to think, you know, one day I will be able to, you know, get this, or have the security, or not have this worry or that worry. So, and people are kind of programmed to feel that's a bad thing.
100%. I think as well, you're saying about manifesting, we're manifesting all the time. So if you're going to manifest, why not manifest something magnificent, something glorious, something that you want and you dream of, and instead of the other stuff. And it just, I've kind of known that, but just when listening to what you were saying, I was like, we're manifesting all the time. So why not think big? Why not manifest big? Why not manifest glorious and happiness, and instead of the other stuff? And that's why they trick us. If you're watching, like, okay, EastEnders, I don't think I've ever watched a full episode. I mean, I know friends and family that love it, and you might, but it might just be a go-to that people go. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to know that. I don't want to be in all those silly arguments. It's all you know, unhappiness.
Yeah, and I always found it really depressing.
Yeah, it is. It's depressing. It's like, I'd much rather, you know, when I was younger, I'd watch Home and Away because it was by the beach. It's like, at least the sun's shining. I don't really, you know, the story, but just it's sunny. It's like, I'd rather watch that than dreary grey arguments, you know.
I'm with you.
It's depressing. Yeah, it's depressing. And so it's like, and that manifests. But I even start to see people kind of copy those silly character arcs and narratives in those sorts of soaps. It's like they kind of live it. I was like, no, you know, you're manifesting. They're powerful beyond belief. Everybody, they're humans. So why not manifest something magnificent instead of something crap, you know?
And that's why I think when people watch, you know, a lot of these, you know, you've seen like Mizzy, the prankster, and I don't know if you've seen that, and then, you know, just doing really bad, negative things, but then it kind of built up. He's a prankster. He's like basically an idiot. He's a criminal. He should be in jail. It was like all over social media the last couple of weeks. And because of that,
the one that walked into someone's house.
Yeah, walked into someone's house.
I saw you tweet that. Yeah.
Yeah, stole someone's dog. Next thing, he's on like Piers Morgan, getting the platform that he wanted, and it kind of other people watching that, they're watching such negativity instead of, you know, watching good things, that it almost makes copycats, and then it creates it and it manifests more of the bad stuff. So it's like, you know, why can't we be seeing? It is. Social media really is, and there's like such a social contagion in all of it, that if maybe we saw people being heroes and being invited onto Piers Morgan because they'd done something amazing, you know what I mean? That would just make us shift into something more positive, and that's a problem we keep on being bombarded with a lot of negativity, because that helps manifest more rather than, you know, raising everyone's positivity.
Yeah, definitely, it is. I saw that clip actually. I saw the guy's face with Piers, and then you've connected the dots because I saw your retweet. I was like, it's the same guy. Yeah, why would you do that? You know, and what? But it does. They've kept people in such a low vibration that they gobble that stuff up.
Yeah.
You know, like horror films and shit. It's like, I'm just not bothered about those. But then you find out that's the sort of stuff they've actually been doing there to tell you. You know, there's so much more inspiring films and material out there, and I find there's a lot of. I'm watching films now, and I kind of just trust the universe. It's like, all right, I'll work all day, I'll be out, go on the beach, and then if I sit down or there's a film, okay, I'll watch it. And then usually lots of codes. It's like there's a message in there, and it's maybe made 10 years ago, but it's really relevant to right now. So I think they're pinpointing. It's like, just watch this, pick up that. Okay, all right, I got that. You know. But we're always manifesting. Why not make something great? Because it takes as much effort, I think.
Definitely,
it
definitely does. Definitely.
Yeah, it's mental. Well, it's been amazing to have you on the show, LEILANI. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'd love to do it again sometime. Where can people find you? Where's the best place that they can find you?
So I'm on Instagram under a shortcut version of my name. You can't put in my full name. It says Lani Dowd on Instagram, like the last half of my first name and the second half of first half of my second name, Lani Dowd. Or I'm on Twitter, LEILANI Dowding on Twitter. And I got a YouTube Leilani Small Holding where I'm doing stupid stuff around my little small farm, trying to grow stuff. Yeah. I'm not always great.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I saw it from outside, but now I've had the chance to sit down and share this conversation with you. It's like, she's great. She's just like, just you're authentic. You just speak how you feel, which is what people. That's what we need. We need realism in the world now, you know.
I know, and it's time now to stop being scared to speak up, because, you know, and I think it takes a few people to speak up at the start, because then you can like kind of say, look, this person is, that person is, and then you meet also your like-minded people and you become stronger. If everyone's waiting for someone else to speak up, you know, you don't know who you're kind of, you're waiting a long time, you don't know who your like-minded people are, you're there going, oh, you know. So I think, it's important. It's important.
Did you have that moment when you started speaking out that you suddenly found your peer group of like-minded that would kind of offer that kind
absolutely. It was amazing. I was on Instagram. I think I saw Sean Ward speak up and Leanne Brown speak up. What's his name? Wes Brown's ex-wife. She's the England player.
Oh, where's Man United? Yeah,
Man United. I saw his wife speak up, and I thought, I'm going to say it, like, you know, why am I, you know, keeping quiet? And it was maybe a couple of weeks in. So I remember seeing those two first. I thought, right, I'm going to back them up. And my first thing was to back them up when I saw people talking rubbish under in their comments on like Instagram. And actually, as soon as I did, everyone's, you know, people found me, they started talking to each other. There were sometimes some heated debates going on in the comments. A lot of the people that didn't like what I was saying unfollowed me. That's fine, or they got blocked. And then I had a load of people that basically it became like a community of like-minded people. So I wasn't really active on Twitter, but then I guess Instagram hated what I was saying because they took my account down, and I've never been able to get it back. They properly took it back, took it down.
How many did you have on following?
I had about 67,000 at the time.
That's no joke, that.
And and it was really disappointing and upsetting. And I'm sure if there was a kind of Twitter files thing for Instagram, my name would have been on there. Like, I'm proper blacklisted. I tried to set other accounts up, they kept coming down, so I can't use my real name on Instagram. But it was amazing because I didn't even have to speak a lot of the time. I'd see people chatting and making friends in the comments, or then I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be at the protest, and then I'd see these people at the protest, and it would just be, it was really great. And I think that's, you know, that's one of the things I am grateful for. I made a lot of amazing warrior friends. So
that's it, warrior friends. I had a similar thing. So the numbers kind of descended upon me the first couple of weeks of lockdown. It was like a kind of conscious download, looking into Diana, Q, Trump, the Kennedys. And I felt for 2 weeks I should do a video. Sorry, 2 months I should do a video.
Yeah.
I'm learning the numbers. I'm listening to Trump talking. He's misspeaking. I'm working out what he's saying. His tweets are misspeaking, misspelling. I'm getting all these numbers and insights. And then I was like, I should do a video. And I finally did one in like latter part of May 2020. And I put the video out. And then within about 2 or 3 days, I connected with like-minded people. I met Jack Kidd and others, and then I got my little kind of group, and then it kind of grew from there, you know. And then I started doing my channel more. But it's amazing. If people feel a similar thing, if they feel like, fuck, I'll lose my friends, you know what, the universe will have you back. If you're a warrior, if you have a pure heart, you will be protected, and you'll find like-minded people. And speaking from personal experience, it's actually great doing the stuff we're doing. So, well, God bless you, LEILANI. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. And go and follow her on all of the stuff that she can actually do on social media, all the accounts that she's got. So, and yeah, watch your space. We'll speak again. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless. Take care. Bye.